What's going down, Savages? Welcome to episode 10 of Le Savage Show. I'm your host, Stéphane Paulin. And before I get to my guest for episode 10, I just want to, announce a few changes. If you've already subscribed to Le Savage Show on YouTube, nothing changes except maybe the name. You notice that it's no longer called Le Savage Show, the channel name on YouTube. It's now called SVG TV. What is SVG TV? Well, I'm planning on creating more and more content separate from Le Savage Show. And I didn't want to have to create a YouTube page for each and every either the new content that's separate from Le Savage Show. So instead, what I came up with was this kind of like network called SVG TV, which it's going to be basically like a network on YouTube where I'll be able to put all my content that's will be available on YouTube. So instead of having 2 or 3 different pages on YouTube for 2 and 3 different shows or 2 and different things, I just thought, how about I just come up with a name where I can put all the content. So basically it's like a TV network, but on YouTube. It's like the Spike TV of YouTube. You guys remember Spike TV? I do. I don't think that's a thing anymore, but whatever. So yeah, so it's SVG TV. So if you haven't subscribed yet on YouTube, check it out. SVG TEEV. That's SVG TV. There's 2 E's added in between the T and the V. Check it out, subscribe, hit that notification button so you don't miss any future content. Le Savage Show stays like it was before. It's still available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the different podcast platforms. It's still available on YouTube, but again, the channel name went from Le Savage Show to SVG TV. So check it out, subscribe, tell your friends, share, all that good stuff. Episode 10 of Le Savage Show, right here, right now. I had the great pleasure of talking with a friend of mine, someone that I met through the business of professional wrestling, Sienna Hanshaw. Sienna's been doing these apocalypse makeup and posting them on Instagram and social media, Facebook, since the beginning of the pandemic, basically, since March 2020. Every single day, she does these amazing makeups on herself and posts them on social media. If you want to check it out, check out Instagram. Her Instagram is SIENN.UHM. That's SIENN.UHM. Every day she posts these apocalypse. She calls them apocalypse makeup. They're amazing. We spoke about that. We spoke about wrestling. We spoke about mental health. We spoke about a lot of different things. Just a great conversation. I really hope you enjoy it. So I'm not going to keep you any longer. I really hope you enjoy episode 10 of Le Savage Show with Sienna Hanshaw. And make sure I don't talk like I've smoked half a pack of cigarettes all day. That's being at home for me. My house is a bit weird. Like we have these like old radiators, and it's like water in the.
I've got them too.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
And I feel like it makes everything so. The minute I turn the heaters up, like just a little bit, if it's cold in the house, man, it gets really dry really fast. My throat, my sinuses, everything dries up. It's really bad.
Yeah, you definitely have to wash them. It's not as bad as electric heating, I find, though. Electric heating, you're like so parched forever.
For real?
And yeah.
I've always lived in like older houses for the most part, so I've always experienced this kind of heating. It's weird. First off, thank you for accepting my invitation to be a guest on the podcast. Welcome to Le Savage Show, Sienna Hanshaw. Is that how I pronounce it?
Yes, you are correct. Yes.
Sienna, let's get started right here because I want to talk about it right away so we can move on to something else after if you want to. I went through your Instagram feed yesterday because I wanted to figure out when was the first apocalypse makeup. I've been following you before this pandemic. We met through the business of professional wrestling, like a lot of my guests.
Yes.
And you started this thing during this pandemic, during this time being locked at home where, well, I'll let you explain it, but it's this apocalypse makeup. And I went through it yesterday to find the first one, which I think I did March 20th. Is that what it was?
Yes, that's exactly the date. Yeah.
And I went through a few that I didn't see or that I missed. I got a few favorites we might want I want to talk about, but
Okay.
where did this all start, and where is this coming from? Because I find it amazing.
Well, I got a week into my lockdown. So I went into work from home mode March 13th. And I just watched all of my friends get really sad within like a day. And I was like, whoa, I want to avoid that at all costs. Because, having some sort of control in your life is really good, especially in a time where I should turn stuff off.
You know
Uh,
what? Me too. You reminded me.
especially during a time where everything is being controlled by other people, by other circumstances, and you all you get is to feel kind of scared and possibly alone, possibly not too alone. There's like a weird community feel to everything because you're all going through a terrible sort of trauma together, but not. Anyways, uh, trying to stay a little bit positive, not get too dark. Um, I had gone from being, working 35, 37 hours a week and then also going to wrestling school for at that point I was starting into 3 days a week and
That takes
you
a lot of
know,
time. I
yes.
know if you're going there 3 4 times a week, that the commute there and the
Oh
time
yeah.
spent there, and then the commute back, and then the washing
Yep.
of the gear, making sure. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a lot of time.
I spent between on only on Mondays and Tuesdays I would spend 12 hours in transit between work and school. So I went from like never being home to suddenly always being home. And I am, I have a bachelor's in fine arts, and I was sitting there going like, I need to do something because I'm not gonna get dressed every day. I got a week into it, and I didn't really, to be honest, I didn't really change my clothes. I didn't know what to do with myself. Uh,
I don't
and
think I've worn a pair of jeans maybe once or twice this whole time.
yes,
It's sweatpants all the time.
yes. I luckily my mother had bought me my first pair of sweatpants for Christmas, and I proceeded to very much wear them. So I kind of had a weekend, and I was like watching everyone just be like, I don't remember what day it is. I don't know when I showered last. All this stuff, and I was like, ooh, I need to um, establish some control because the possibility of me really losing it is very high. I was suddenly stripped of like working out too. So like the thing that was my control for quite a while um, was gone, and I was like, "Fuck, okay. Oh, I can swear on this, right?
Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Please. There is
cool.
zero topics off the table on this podcast.
Okay. Yeah, so I got a weekend, and now it's like I need to do something, and I don't know, I think I just bought like a new palette or something. I'm like, well, fuck it. It's the apocalypse. I'm gonna do all the makeup that I always wanted to wear every day, but that for some reason I wasn't allowing myself because I had some weird societal bullshit like in my brain. Even though, I wear colorful hair and whatever the fuck I want. For some reason, it's like when it came to my makeup, it had to be like real normal. So I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this thing every day. I'm not. It's not gonna have any major rules about it, but I will have to do one bit of makeup, even if it's just like a smudge. It's just something I will do every single day. So I started with kind of like a witness me, very apocalypse themed Mad Max look, and uh, have started cutting corners while also becoming better at my craft, I guess.
Yeah, there's some out there that you did that are just amazing. But continue.
Yeah, so I found that after a little while, people started messaging me, and that was surprising. Like people from high school that I didn't know had any way of following me, and I was like, oh, we're not friends on Facebook. How did this come about, sort of thing? But they were like, having me, and it sounds so fucking, ooh, look at me, I hate saying this, but it they're like, it really inspires me at what you do every day, and I'm like, that's very touching. like, and they're like, I wish I could do something. I'm like, you can do this too. Like, this is not a me thing. You want to do makeup every day, please. Like, I push you. You're not gonna get any sort of like catty bullshit from me for it.
The makeup aspect of it, like the way you explained it there, just there at the beginning.
Yeah.
So basically, the loss of control, like I think it's something that we all kind of like witnessed and we went through at the beginning. Like everybody that
Yes.
was kind of locked down, that was their life got disrupted in any sort of small, medium, or large way. All of a
Yes.
sudden, to add to your point, you said something about like we were all sharing something in common.
Yes.
We were all
We're
going
all
through something.
we're currently all in like a shared trauma. Like,
Yeah.
people will come out of this and already have PTSD from this because of the loss of lives, the loss of contact. Some people really require. Humans are herd species, right? So we thrive in groups. Um, so just being cut off from it, people started to lose it because you're used to touching people on a regular basis. Like, the formalities that we had in like Victorian times aren't really there. Like, especially even in wrestling, you walk in, you shake hands, you give your friends a hug, that's it. And to be cut off, stripped, literally stripped from that, you starve emotionally, you starve mentally, because touch touch con human touch and the therapeutic touch that we receive between everybody really helps with our mental health. So when you don't have access to that, it can fuck with your head.
I've been through many I guess stages of this pandemic. I've been lucky, and even said it multiple times with my wife. We were going through something tragic, and it's global pandemic, and it's not something to take lightly. But for us, for my family, for my unit, like things have been going extremely well, and we've been able to use this time to really like refocus our energy on what's important and kind of shed everything that was really not necessary in our life. Like we feel a lot lighter now
Mm.
because we forced ourselves to kind of shed that thing, a lot of things actually. But to just go back to your something you said is like basically you're doing this makeup thing every day because it was maybe something normal every day that you would do
Yes.
if you would go to work normally, right? And
The
then
thing is, no.
you
No.
okay, so you did.
The like, the funny part about it is, like, I went to work for a year dressed like a troll person, because I would just go straight to wrestling school and sweat, and like, I would just wear whatever the fuck I want, no makeup, didn't matter. And then I was like, I want to feel like I have control of something, and that was really what it was.
Yeah, and obviously you could see, I've known before because we've talked about it, but you're extremely talented when it comes to makeup.
Oh,
And
thanks.
like I remember one in particular because it was on my birthday. October 27th was the scarecrow one that you
Oh,
posted. It
yeah.
was the Halloween theme, the dark eyes. Yeah, it was amazing. And there's one you did recently that really like I'll always like, if I see it, I'll like it. Like they're
Yeah.
all beautiful. But the one you did 2 days ago, the porcelain face.
Oh,
Oh my
with
god.
the flowers, yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Oh,
a collaboration with a special effects makeup artist named, oh my god, Sophie. Oh
she,
no.
she's the one you shared the picture of
Yes, I
in the
will, just
post.
one moment. Yeah, Sophie from Sophie's Lip Service. Sophie underscore lip service on Instagram. I don't like to mislink people.
Oh my god. It, anyway, that one's amazing. I was showing my daughter because my daughter, she's 6 going on 18. So
Mhm.
she's really like, I don't know. She's really independent. She's really crazy little girl, and she just loves makeup already. And it's like she just wants to, like, not just like makeup, like girly makeup, but like she sees these videos and of people that really like you, like go into makeup and doing all these like hours and hours and hours of makeup. Like there's some of those that you did that must have taken you like, what's the longest you spent on the makeup? Like putting on and removing of said makeup.
Oh, this is probably gonna make some people mad. Most of my makeups take 30 minutes. Uh,
Shut up.
how?
For
No,
real?
I'm serious. Um, for the
Wow.
month of October, I put a full hour at least, roughly. I think there was one where I did more of like a chest covering, so that took probably another 45 minutes, so like almost 2 hours. But yeah, like most of them are real fast. like
Really? Wow.
yeah, so I think if we're talking about the porcelain one, that one took me about an hour and a half because there was like a full white pan makeup situation, which
Mm.
requires like padding.
Yeah, I've experienced with that makeup, and it's like it's very thick to put on, and a fun time to take off. I'll tell you that much. I think I went to sleep that night with half of it still on my face. I was like, I can't anymore. Um, Yeah, that's crazy. You only spend 30, but in a way that's good because I wouldn't want you to spending all, half your day on putting makeup on, and because I've seen some of these videos on TikTok and on Instagram where these people spend like hours upon hours just to put all that on, just to take a picture in a small short video, and then they remove it within 5 minutes with some sort of like, and then it's all mostly gone, and then you're like, wow, that's crazy. The energy, I guess, everything, you the passion you put behind spending so much time doing something like, so like that could be that you just go, oh, here's a picture, it's very nice, I feel nice, I feel good about myself, I accomplished something, now I gotta wipe my face and then go about my day. It's
Yeah, there's a I mean, it's also like for like the makeup artists who spend like really long time, like it is an art, but it's an
mm,
ephemeral art, so it means that like as a creator you understand it's only going to last for an hour maybe, because it really, like, once your face starts sweating, whatever, it starts to rub off. So like the photo is, I guess, sort of like the work itself.
yeah.
But and that lasts a lot longer. But yeah, it's definitely sometimes when you look at makeup, you're like, oh, that only lasts for a little bit. Like, why put in all the time? But it makes you feel really good.
I see a parallel in a lot of things, or I try to sometimes. I overthink a lot of things, and I see some sort of parallel between doing something as an artist, like painting.
Mm-hmm.
I equate a lot of things to art, wrestling, certain sports. I equate as art compared to just a sport. Like it's so intricate sometimes.
Yep.
The parallel between doing certain things for that exact reason, like we were discussing, and like for wrestling, for example, where sometimes you're in the ring in front of a crowd for 6 to 8 minutes,
Yeah, that's
right?
nothing.
10 if you're lucky, 12 if you're real lucky, 15 if you're main eventing. But for a lot of times, you're giving 8 to 10 minutes, let's say the average,
Yep.
and you need to, as much as possible, do art in that 8 to 10 minutes.
Yes.
And you need to be able to pro- be productive, make the art, and then look at it from a distance, and then be able to move on to the next
Yes.
and to the next and to the next. And sometimes it's hard anyway for me to if something went really bad or really well, even in contrast, to not stop and really think for way too long, and then
Yep.
kind of like, I don't want to say like use it constantly as a reference, either negative or positive, but
Mm-hmm.
I find that it hurts me more. Like if I'm able, the more I'm able to just produce, be content with what I did, and fix the errors I made and move on. More and more people are going to respect the, maybe see the work that's been put in the back when the product is there, because I kind of pay attention and not really uh, live in that positive or negative aspect
Hmm.
of the art. You know, like if you paint something and you're like, man, that's garbage. Someone else might go, yeah, you know what? It's actually pretty nice. You know,
Yes.
so it's like because every time I'd have a wrestling match where I thought was poop, which is a lot of my wrestling match that I think about myself. I'd ask my wife if she was there, and she's like, "I thought it was just like any." My wife is my wife. She's like,
Yeah.
I didn't see any if it was better or worse. They were good to me." And then, but then I look at it from a different perspective, and then I go, "No, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong." And
Well,
I feel if you're able to connect with more people that see it from different perspective and be able to conversate with those people, sometimes you're able to go, oh well, I kind of, if I see it from that angle, maybe it's not that bad.
yeah, I think that being somewhat healthy in your self criticism is important. That's how we learn and grow. Being self critical, but not to a fault. If you are to a fault, you'll never grow and you'll get stuck in a rut and
Yeah.
literally rot. So that's like just having enough control over yourself to let yourself enjoy the things you do is really important.
you do you feel like you were robbed of something because you were slowly dipping your toe in the world of professional wrestling the few months before we all shut down and went belly up and no more wrestling? You were starting to work shows, you were starting
Yeah.
to be in front of those crowds, you were starting to build this character, and I saw it from the beginning, right? I was there the first time you came out, and it was, happy moments.
Yeah.
And then momentum
Exciting.
behind it, you were gaining
Yes.
momentum slowly.
Yeah.
That's important in wrestling, that small momentum. Even if it's shitty experiences, you still have to find the good to have that momentum for moving forward. And then boom, shut down. Like I felt a certain way, but I came from a different perspective. I got injured a week before the pandemic shut everything, or
Yeah.
2 weeks before. So I was already shut down for almost minimum 6 months for me in my head.
Yes.
So for me, it was really taking care of my body and soul to look past this. But someone like you that were just starting up, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's gone. Like, how does that feel? Like, you must have felt like gypped, like a little robbed, no?
Um, well, I think that having the sort of like um bump that I had taken, let's just say, like I think 6 months prior to the lockdown, I started not being able to walk, and I had to go and get an MRI, and it turned out that I had two herniated discs in my spine. Um, and just sort of knowing that, like, hey, I'm also at the time 32, and like spines are things you don't really want to fuck with.
Yeah, they're pretty important, apparently.
Yeah, a little
Yeah,
bit.
I hear.
And having that, and like honestly coming to a realization where it's probably never going to happen that I'd wrestle in a match. Not just because the safety factor. My brain was like, oh, like I haven't been doing this since I was like 20, so I didn't have
Mm.
the like I'm okay to hurt my body all the time. This was like, oh no, I rolling makes me not walk the next day. So
You didn't
I
have
had
that
gone.
callous build like you
Yes.
guys like me that had been martial arts
I
and
don't
done
care
the
if my
shit.
leg's broken
Yeah.
like this. I'm gonna wrestle no matter what.
And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. It's nice to hear from someone's that honesty of going, hey, you know what? I've tried this bumping it business. Ain't
Yeah.
fun. Maybe there's something else we can do in this
Yes.
business. I love professional wrestling. Let's try something else. And then boom, all of a sudden you're presented with an opportunity, and
Yeah.
boy, you fucking ran with that shit.
I have personality.
Yeah, that's why I love you. That's why I didn't want to go into the story because honestly, I met you like a lot of other people that I now love and be able to call friends or whatever,
Family.
family, I guess.
I
Hey,
guess.
listen. Family is a word for me that you're right. There's a lot of people I call family that aren't. It ain't blood, right?
Chosen family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have friends, I have family, and I have the four people that the three people I take care of. But when I first met you, it was like a lot of other people at the dojo. It was I came in for practice. I noticed two or three new faces that I didn't know, and then I went okay. And then I started paying attention, like I do every new people I know is going. I always look to go okay. How long has this person been here? How long is she gonna last? He
Yeah,
or
yeah.
she,
how
bang, bang,
much
bang.
how much effort do I want to put into this person? Because
I
I'm
yeah,
only going to see them
exactly.
twice.
Well, not for me. I'll be nice to everybody, but I'm always looking for that person that can challenge me. If I see someone there that can either challenge me, and it doesn't have to be physical, like you would challenge me in, well, I like this girl is full of personality. Like if I show up one night and my personality is off and she's on point, I'm, you know what that's gonna
Mhm.
bug me. It's gonna bug me because I take this very seriously and I'm very competitive in some sort of weird way. But I always look and right away I was like, okay, I think it might have been a Thursday, the first time we met.
Oof.
I'm not
Uh-huh.
sure, but
Probably.
early on in the first few times, I was there on a Thursday. If you've been to Torture Chamber on a Thursday, it's Cardio Thursday. It's where we blow out all the steam from the week
Uh-huh.
and give it everything we got right at the beginning of class. And I remember seeing you like push through all the exercise, 4 rounds, and you were like, you were done, you were topped off. But I was like, okay, I can fuck with someone like that because I'm like, if you come here, there's no excuses. I know you're not going to make excuses. And so, and then I started talking to you, and then of course, personality comes out, and you're like, oh yeah, this, she's cool. I like this. And this podcast, through podcasting now, I kind of switched it up a little bit because I felt like I had an opportunity through all the years, through all my life, through martial arts, through pro wrestling. I've been able to meet so many interesting, inspiring, motivating, but just like with stories to tell. And I'm like, it's, and I just love talking. Like, as you can see, I
Uh-huh.
enjoy talking. I take a few tokes. I drink 3 or 4 coffees before this. I'm ready to go.
Ooh.
You know, by the way, it's just a little side story over here. I was thinking about this earlier. I don't know about you, but being at home, my coffee, I'm already like at 3 cups minimum per day in coffee. Do you drink coffee
I do.
a lot?
I well, I used to, but now I own like every machine has died, so I only have this. I mean, this sounds really like bougie, but like my mom bought me one 10 years ago. I have an espresso machine. So it's a long process to make a cup of coffee that's like this big. So I've actually, I think, gone down in my intake.
Wow. I do it French press, the badum. I
Uh-huh.
boil water, put coffee in there. By 10 o'clock, me and the wife have gone through 2 of those already. And then there's one in the afternoon. And we have an espresso machine that we
Hmm.
got from our wedding from Drew. And that's I drink one of those. That's what I'm drinking right now. I'm caffeined up to the gills. I know because I'm like, I'm gonna have a podcast tonight. I need to be able to fucking talk for a bit. I need to, my ideas need to fire because sometimes I mess up and I either get like I work out super hard before a podcast and then I show up and then I'm like on no energy and I'm like, man, I hope you can talk today because I'm like,
Hmm.
I can't carry this conversation for shit. Um, yeah, look, back to wrestling, man. I got injured. I kind of made peace with the fact that I was going to be out for a while, and then the pandemic happened, and then I had to switch it up to like, well, I have to take this opportunity to fix everything that's wrong. And then I fixed my head, which was the first issue I really had to fix, and then I slowly started realizing, like, to add to your point earlier, like, holy shit, like I've been doing this nonstop just for 4 years, just for 4 years.
Yeah.
Drew, it's 20 plus years. Some guys I've wrestled 10, 15, 20 years. I'm like, shit, I've been doing this for 4 years. I am an athlete, pretty athletic. I take care of my
Yes.
body. And I started noticing these fucking things that aren't like injuries, like they'll go away. Like I
No,
have
this
pain in
is you
certain
now.
places that is here to stay. Like I
Yep.
get up every morning and it's like, yep, the pain is still there. Like it's not going away. And I started rehabbing. I go see Jade as often as I possibly can. I
Hmm.
saw her last week because my
Jade
back.
Salter.
Yes, repping Jade Salter.
Yeah.
I owe her
Sports
so much.
masseuse.
Yo, she
Massage therapist. I'm sorry.
massage
That
therapist,
is.
masseuse, and
Sorry, Jade.
and I'm very grateful that she's able to fix me. But yeah, it's rough. It's a rough
Yep.
business. My body's been through a lot in the last 15 years with martial arts and pro wrestling and everything else in between it. I've put it in all the stress, mental, physical, all that shit. And it's like, I'm 40. I turned 40 during this pandemic. And I was like,
Oh
man,
no.
I've been, knock on wood, best shape I've ever been in my life, close to anyway. And I'm like, I
Hmm.
feel great. I feel fantastic. Definitely don't feel 40. But
That's good.
like you, listen, am I willing to invest more time once things get back to normal? Like
Yeah.
I still feel a lot of the pains that I've that are because of those 4 years. Like I'll probably live with certain issues for till I croak. Am I willing? Because right now my body is feeling great. My mind is feeling sharp. I have other ideas. I feel more creative. I feel different ways. And I've put energy behind other stuff in the meantime, just
Mhm.
like you. So I don't lose control and I just don't go fucking getting all depressed and anxious because
Yeah.
I feel like I don't have control. This is why I'm putting energy behind the podcast, behind other
Hmm.
projects that I'm on the go right now. And I'm like, man, but it's a point that I spoke to about a few guys, especially guys in wrestling. Like there's people that did this for 10 plus years every weekend. And then all of a sudden it's taken away. And it's shitty to say, but that Saturday night in the locker room was their favorite 4 to 5 hours of the week.
Yes.
That's taken away. And then you got to go and live in your fucking head because you can't go to work and you can't do this and you can't go
Because
to
you've
the gym.
invested all of your time in one solid thing. I have ADHD, so I don't have the ability to just hyper focus on. Well, no, that's incorrect. I can hyper focus on things, but I need to have multiple activities at all times. So that I think came to a benefit for once for me in all of this was that I uh, immediately was like, okay, I'm used to seeing people all the time. I'm used to talking. I'm used to hosting events. I'm used to doing all these things. How can I keep some of that? So I started the makeup thing. I started doing weekly Sanka set Zoom whatevers. It wasn't on Zoom, but and I started working out online because I knew I wasn't going back to the dojo while people were still in a pandemic because it was public transit and that just wasn't an
Yeah.
option for me. I my immune system is not solid, so being out there and in what we were told at the beginning because I had no idea how it was transmitted was like it could have literally be anything. So staying indoors was very much what I did for a very long time. Um, and eventually going out, but like wearing a mask and as soon as that was like recommended, I was like yes. um, and just sort of doing all of this stuff allowed for me to realize how important it is to have multiple interests as a person. Like I don't think I could exist just doing one thing.
It's scary because I heard something right at the beginning of like the lockdown. I forget if it was before or after. And I mentioned this many times, either on a podcast or on social media. It's hard to have an identity that could be taken away
Yes.
by one bad bump. You're done. You're
Yes.
not a pro wrestler anymore. I'm using pro wrestling as an example, but it could be
Absolutely.
anything. It could be anything, any sport, any like any extreme athletes that's put time and energy behind one singular
Hmm.
purpose, and that thing could be taken away with one bad bump. For say pro wrestling, you take one bad bump, you fuck up your neck, you're done for the rest of your life. Now what's your identity if you haven't
Yes.
taken the time to curate or cultivate other interests, other hobbies, other things that at one point, this wrestling, for example, for wrestling, like that this is not going to last forever. No rest, like we've seen the guys that try to get back in the ring at 60 and 70. It
A
don't
bad
end
idea.
well. Don't
It's a
end well.
really, really bad idea.
It
Yeah.
looks bad and it ends bad.
Yeah.
And we all know it's going to end. And it's not just for pro wrestling. I've heard this about fighters, MMA fighters. It was a big issue where you put 10, 15 plus years behind one thing, 7 days a week. It's all you eat. It's all you breathe. It's all you do. And then all of a sudden you're not a fighter, you're not a wrestler anymore. What are you? And then that's when the depression, that's when all the mental illness comes to the surface, if you are prone to that stuff, which a lot of people, especially athletes that have just donated all their time, all their energy to one singular purpose, all of a sudden it's taken away. You don't have an
Yeah.
identity anymore, and you feel lost, and you don't feel in control. Back to being in control, like we spoke about it earlier.
Yeah. A lot of vets actually feel that same mentality coming back from being overseas. Like they live something. Excuse me. They live something so hard every day of their lives, and then they come back and it's like nothing is the same. And I feel like it's a really shitty way for me to sort of be like, this is what a lot of people are experiencing, but just minus all like the terror and the war.
Yeah.
uh you know that. um but being cut off from what is what a lot of people experienced. And I don't know, it just knowing yourself can really help with things. I a couple of years ago, I was like, "Ooh, I'm really, really sad," and I wanted to start. I just turned 30, and I was like, I don't want to live my life with regrets of not doing or not trying. Um, so I started to live very sort of like honestly to how I want to be. Um, and a lot of like fear still held certain things like the makeup thing, like I discussed earlier.
Yeah.
Um, but I started being like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't want to live a boring life. And I'm going to make the best of what I can do with it. I'm not rich. I have, I have a job now, which is a step up from a lot of people, and I do understand I am
Mm.
very privileged in that. And I am currently very privileged in the fact that I get to work from home. Um, but for me, it was about really just like being honest with myself about the things I wanted to do and not do. And so I was like, okay, well, I've always loved wrestling. Like since I was a child, I'm going to try it. And if it doesn't work out, at least I tried.
Yeah.
And it was the same with burlesque. I was like, I have always been doing these sort of like quasi burlesque shows. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go into burlesque. And I jumped in, and I was Daenerys in a Game of Thrones themed burlesque show, which was fucking crazy because at the time I was like, why am I the head? Like I literally
Yeah.
headlined like that show, and I was like, um and it was kind of just like, well, if people don't like what I'm doing with my life, they can go fuck a duck. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It,
You know what I find weird is that I think I'm 40, you're in your
33.
33. Okay. So you came from a world at a certain point when you were a kid, no social media, no
Oh yeah, no.
smartphone, no internet,
Rural
basically,
as well.
right?
So I didn't get that till I started university actually.
Look, I had a friend that had dial-up internet in 1994. My neighbor, we used to go to his place to do. We'd be on this thing called was it MIRC chat, some sort of chat room, and it was old school. And it wasn't until like the mid 2000s where like I got a computer for the first time as an adult, quote unquote adult, mid 20s.
Uh-huh.
Fuck. I was definitely not
Are
an
you an
adult.
adult
I'm
now? This is the
not
question.
an adult and I'm 40, so I definitely
Yeah.
wasn't an adult in my mid 20s. But fuck, I lost track of thought.
Oh,
Before social media, you were talking about what were we talking about? Fuck. Damn weed, man. This happens, and sometimes I'm really good at maneuvering around sometimes, and I'm
mm-hmm.
like, yeah, just make it up until it comes back. Just keep talking, keep
No,
talking.
you know what?
Fuck, I forgot.
So we were talking first about how knowing yourself is really important, and then we moved on to discussing sort of like
Oh,
the
you were
'90s.
discussing about your fears sometimes about expressing
Oh,
really
yeah.
who, like, with through your
Hmm.
makeup or through whatever it was.
Yes.
I feel that because we came from a world that we didn't have that to a world where we have social media where uh, you're kind of ingrained now to like post and then expect people to go, oh, look, I really like this or I don't really like this. And I think a lot of people, which is dangerous, and I don't know if this has anything to do with what you're adding, but also I think that a lot of people assume because that certain person or certain people or they didn't get that like from certain people that they
Mm.
generally assume right away that they didn't like that post or they found something. And then you start fucking a lot of people start spending too much time there, and
Oh,
that's where
yeah.
things get really screwy. I understand that because sometimes I have to work really hard for me not to let myself get to that point.
Hmm.
My all this blah 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 to get to my point that I it is my biggest battle. It is my biggest battle right now to live in a world that if I'm going to be, and I again hate using this fucking term, but it's the only term that fits. If I'm going to live in a world where I have to create content
Hmm.
to try to be something that I have in my head, this vision I have in my head, or to build something
Hmm.
from that vision, like I have to be willing to trust myself 100% and post and do and put out in the stratosphere everything that I think is the
The Trish
best for that
Stratosphere.
vision. It's Trish. Yeah, dude, I don't want to get the giggles like last night. Did you see my post? My wife was so high on edibles last night. She started giggling on the couch.
Does she want you to know this on the internet?
I posted it on Instagram. She
Oh,
goes,
okay.
I'm so high, but she doesn't know I'm recording. It's the funniest thing. Anyway, uh, sometimes I'm better at it now because I go, fuck it, fuck these people. And the funny thing is, I've never had anybody remotely throw any sort of shame or hate my way. But in my head, there's millions of people sometimes that don't like what I put
No.
out there or that laugh or think I'm stupid or silly for doing certain things. I've grown more and I'm able to be like, fuck this. I'm just gonna, if I feel like posting something, a thought, because I don't know how it works for everybody, but for me, when I post something on social media, if I feel like that post is going to help even one person, if it's
Mhm.
going to reach or touch or really go, you know what, that makes sense. Even if it's one person out of 1,000, I to me, that's why I put that video. So if it looks silly to 1,000 people, but that one person, it goes, man, that I really meant something to me, then that to me is mission accomplished. Let's
Mhm.
move on. And I kind of try to live that way and try to put that in my mind. Like, but it's my biggest battle. It is a huge battle. And the more that I move forward right now in this pandemic world and post-pandemic world where look, you need to get behind the eight ball here. Like the content is going to be online, podcasting is
Yeah.
going to become bigger and you're going to get momentum, and certain things are going to be moving certain direction. There's an opportunity here for a lot of people to do what I'm doing here in a different way, in their own way, and start making I'm not making a living off of this, but to kind of like get the creative juice going and getting yourself like shedding some of that energy in what I do. But my point was, like, I think my battle, like I share with the same with you, is that, man, it's hard sometimes to really go, man, what if that person laughs at me, or what if what if they find this silly, or like it sucks.
Oh,
It
yeah.
sucks. And I think it's something that people don't want to be honest about too. I think
Yeah.
that's another thing about it too, right?
Yeah, I mean, we all have the gremlins in our head that tell us that we're awful and we don't deserve to live, and that's it comes from different places. Some of it being an imbalance of chemicals, some of it being systematic sort of bullying, some of
Yeah.
it, different things, but the gremlins are there, and sometimes it's really well, no, not sometimes, but it's very important to just be like, no, this is my head saying that these things, the likelihood that unless I'm spewing hate speech or I don't know, sharing conspiracy theories in a
Yeah.
like a not like a I believe in this conspiracy. Uh, most people aren't gonna really. The most it'll be, which is possibly the worst, is they won't notice, or it won't register to them. I think for me, I don't have this need to be like super fucking famous, like
Yeah.
um it, I just want to entertain. That's really what I am at the base of it. But the
Do you
the thing
don't you
that
find Oh, sorry.
the thing
Go
that
on.
I fear most, I guess, in life is being uh unnoticed or not worth noticing.
You said something, and I feel like a lot of people have a hard time seeing the separation between being inter- being an entertainer and wanting to be famous. A
Hmm.
lot of people, I think, assume that if you want to be an entertainer, it's because you want to be famous, because most successful entertainers are famous people. They're famous because they're great entertainers. But I've been entertaining, quote unquote, for 4 years, and I don't consider myself famous. I'll be honest, like, entertaining people is something. Even when I was an MMA fighter, I understood there was an entertainment purpose behind me getting locked
Yes.
in a cage and getting the brains beat the shit, beaten out of me. Or sometimes I'd be doing the beating, but
Mm,
there was an entertainment factor to that. And then when I transitioned to pro wrestling, it's again back to what I said earlier. It's art. I see it as
yes.
art. As a
Mm,
I For me, like, I came I guess the environment I grew up in, it was kind of like simple. If you're an artist, it's because you can hold a brush, you can paint, you're an artist that way. Or later on a
okay.
bit in life, you're an artist, you're a musician. You can be a musician, that's an artist. Then the more mature, finding out, oh, you can be an actor. Oh, that's also an artist. But seeing art also in other things, just assuming that, oh, well, you can't paint a canvas. You're not an artist. All you do is you go in the
Oh,
ring and you in your underwear and you beat up on people for 8 to 10 minutes, and then the bell rings, and then you go in the back, you scream, you sweat over me. Like, I don't get it. I look at that and I go, that guy's an artist. The fact that
yes.
he can make me feel three sorts of emotion in the span of 10 minutes. I go from angry to happy to
Yes.
sad, all within 10 minutes, because of that performance that he put in that ring.
You
That's
know
an
why?
artist.
Do you want to know why? Because
Why?
wrestling is dance.
It's in
Wrestling
what?
is dance, dude. It is people moving in fluid motions together. They're somewhat, don't expose business, but somewhat planned. um, and you know, it, it's interpretive dance, we'll say. But it's on a
It's like a
stage.
free flow of, like,
Yes.
expressing yourself in a violent fashion, right? Because
Yeah.
you're
Da-
simulating combat and dance, right?
I
But
think
you're
I
right.
think you're
You're right.
thinking dance is as like very like fluid and like soft and fluid. Dance can be really fucking hard. I
Yeah.
mean, you look at like hip hop, there are some really, really intense movements in that, and some of it can like give you emotions of like you see the anger and the rage. That is what you are doing on
Mm.
in a ring. You're like, I disagree. I
No, I
don't want
don't.
to be
I
a
don't
dancer.
disagree. I don't disagree. I'm trying to. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I've seen types of dancing where it's violent or it's meant to be shown as violent. Or yeah, of course, it's a dance. It's so many different things though. Wrestling, I find that
Yes.
you could. The best wrestlers are able to just make one small movement with their eyebrows, with their lip, with their I don't know
Hmm.
who it was I was talking to about the other day with I forget. And
I don't know, man.
we,
I don't live your life.
we were talking about how The Rock with
Hmm.
one eyebrow, one thing, one small thing, he would make the crowd react like no one's business. The biggest pop out of one facial expression. You got to put that all in there. I find that's one of the hardest thing when I started wrestling was that putting it all together. The putting all the athletic things together, the jumping, the hitting, the punching,
Hmm.
all that, all while trying to be expressive as much as possible while doing it, while getting hit, and all while trying to notice the crowd and trying to uh, feed off the emotions that are being done or lived through right now. That right there is that's if once you're able to put that all together and then you see it from my perspective as a worker and you see that person in that ring and you're like, he's able to do all those things right now. He's putting it all together. Man, that's beautiful art to me. And that's why that's one of the reasons why I fell in love with professional wrestling as a kid because I saw it as just more than just two big dudes just fighting each other. It was like it was fucking beauty to me. It was like art. Like it was wow. Like that's I can't
Yeah.
draw for shit, but I wish I could do that stuff. And I
And now you,
did
yeah.
fucking 30 years later. And I went, oh, look at me. I'm a pro wrestler.
Man,
To
you got championships. Yeah.
I've done quite well for the short amount of time,
Yeah.
and I owe that to a lot of people. I owe, to Torture, to Drew. I owe, but I also owe myself though, and that's for a long time. It's something that I have a hard time like telling myself, like the years that I put behind that getting to the point. Yeah, I might only been doing pro wrestling for 4 years, but I was doing mixed martial arts for 10 plus years before that. And I'm able to bring a credibility to the sport of professional wrestling simply because of what I did before. So I
Hmm.
kind of like people kind of, there's an interest there for some people. For some, no, but so I was able to, turn that into maybe a little fast forward into my career. But I feel like there's much more that could be done, but I'm not sure. And I've said this before, like during these last 8, 9 months, like I'm not 100% sure that I'm willing to go back to that simply for physical. My body's feeling great. It might be time for me to move on to something else, or simply because I love my life right now.
Hmm.
I love where I'm at. I'm happy and I feel more grounded and I'm less. I feel like I'm chasing different things now, but they're a bit more concrete. Chasing a dream to be a professional wrestler when there's so not a lot of us, if you really think about it, that can get to do this on TV or make real money out of this. Man, it's not a lot, and it's
Yeah.
few and far between. It's a crazy dream. I'm super happy and grateful that I got to live those 4 years, and maybe I'll live more after all this said and done
Who
because
knows?
it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard for me. I know it was hard when I made the transition from MMA and decided that through injuries and all that shit that I wasn't able to do that. I didn't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But now this pro wrestling, there's a side of me that goes, man, I'm gonna miss the lights. I'm gonna miss the fans. I'm gonna
Yeah.
miss I'm gonna miss the quote unquote fame. But now there's a part of me that also it's completely outside of that. There's a part of me that's gonna miss the camaraderie with the boys and the girls
Yeah.
and all the things. That's definitely thing. But
Yeah,
that that
that's
fucking feeling that you get when you stand on top of that thing, that there's a curtain there or you're behind a curtain, that
yeah.
when your music is playing and the
And
people are all
all of your
looking at
friends are
you,
right behind you. Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
all looking at
It's
you,
intense.
that pressure, there's such an immense pressure at that moment because you're like, man, I can't fuck up.
Yep.
We all do. If, as a pro
Yes.
wrestler, we've all fucked up. But if you're not able to channel that pressure you feel when you're on top there and that fucking music is hitting and you're making that walk to the ring, if you're not able to hold that shit together and just let it go seep out slowly and control it, whew, that's that moment, that thing that holds it all together, that nervous, anxious energy to go like just fucking get through the next 12 minutes. That's what I miss. It's
Can
like an
I
electricity.
Yeah, I'm going to interject that same feeling, because I've gotten to view. I've walked runways. I've performed burlesque, and I have done show hosting as well as wrestling. Um, every single one of those has that little bubble of camaraderie where everyone just sort of gets real small right behind the curtain and like peeks through during your performance, your talk, whatever. And this is you will find it again. I can tell you this.
Mm,
These pockets of camaraderie and these pockets of support that you felt there, like even if you don't go back to wrestling, say you write a book or you start doing motivational speaking, you've got a very close friend who also does such things. um you will find that again. I I feel like if that is one of the things you're going to miss most, you
mhm.
don't have to worry that it's completely gone. I do understand like the people will be different, but and this goes to like anyone, really. It like the things that you loved are not gone, they just changed, as long as you're willing to look for them,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Are, aren't you just looking at that point though to interchange one thing with another to get the same result as a feeling, basically? So you're like, let me see what else I could do instead of this to kind of get the same
I mean,
feeling. And uh,
isn't that why we do everything in life? Like,
I
hey,
guess, yeah,
I
you're
want to try
absolutely right.
something
Yeah.
else that will try to make me happy. It's
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's not like I'm changing a negative thing into another negative thing. I'm
yes,
still chasing on one positive feeling. The,
exactly.
the worry for me is, and this is only for me or other people that have lived a similar life, is that I get a lot of that energy, a lot of that feeling from from getting hit or hitting back, like that physical part of wrestling,
Hmm.
that physical part that I used to get from mixed martial arts before. This
Hmm.
feeling was also a big part of like that energy, that I guess end result at the end. Like when I'm spent after a 12-minute match and I'm in the back and I'm sweating and there's a chop
Yeah.
mark on my chest and I'm just there just going like, yeah, that was a good match. That was a good match. And finding that kind of exert, that kind of end result in other things, I get it, and I'm doing it right now. That's why I'm keeping busy, just like you. It's like,
Hmm.
what can I do? What can I do to keep my mind as occupied? I feel like I need to replace one thing with 8 things to equal the same thing, but I'm
Yeah.
okay with that because I'm good at juggling a lot of shit and making them all of a sudden all balance over my head. But
I mean, I'm gonna suggest something that might make you blush, but um, the reason why you like that so much is because when you get hit, endorphins kind of like shoot you through your body to like help
yeah.
you deal with the pain. S&M is a really good way to like work with that.
Let me write that. I'll put that in my. I may, you know what? Maybe who knows?
Yeah.
I maybe I'm afraid to try because maybe I'd be like, I love this shit too much. Now I'm stuck. Now I have to do this
There's
all
a,
the time.
that is a community full of people who are living their truth, and absolutely, I love every single one of my friends. I've been in the community for over 10 years now. I feel old, but not old. Um, and yeah, if you ever want to fucking live your truth, man, go to a kink party.
Look, I've heard about a few things about those king parties. I think from you or maybe from other people, but you know what? Let's talk about okay. Let's talk about it. Why am I like? Why would I have interjection? Why would I say no to that? Simply because I'm afraid of what it go. Doesn't it go back to the same feelings we were talking about earlier, where like maybe I do want to try it, or maybe I'm afraid of how other people are going to view if I do end
Yes,
up
that
trying
is.
it and falling in love with
Mhm.
it. Right? It's like I've been telling this to my wife. I'm like, I want a head tattoo. I want to get my head tattooed. And my wife
Ouch.
is like, I don't. She's like, no. She's like, look, I haven't said no to you ever. She's like, you could do whatever you want, you know. And I said, but I said I want a head tattoo. I wanted a head tattoo on my 40th birthday, and then I ran a marathon.
I
But
mean, the different types of endorphins, man.
I'd take the fucking pain of
Hmm.
getting my head tattooed over the day after I ran 42 kilometers. But it's like I'm I I guess I'm using this as an example to for my point is that I'm okay. Like if I tomorrow I got a head tattoo, my head tattooed, I'd be fucking proud to shave the side of my head and have my head like whatever art that I'm proud to have on my head. You talk to people about head tattoo, it's like you're the devil all of a sudden. There's such an extreme in seeing the
Yes.
world, right? It's like puritanical, whatever it's called. Like you're pure, you're very like, no, I don't like this, and like all that bullshit that still people live and that way
Yeah.
today. And then there's people like you, people like me, that are somewhere on the spectrum in different spots, and then there's a spectrum for everything, right? So then you have to kind of go like, well, what's the fucking issue with me maybe trying new things or being experimenting with different things and different like it was like that for every single thing that I now do in my life. It was like pro wrestling. And what are people going to think that I'm going to fucking be a pro wrestler? You're going to tell people,
Here,
hey, I'm a pro wrestler. What? Are you fucking Hulk Hogan all of a sudden? What the fuck you doing wasting your time? Like, and I was like, I'm willing to bring it on, bring on all the jokes. My friends were even like, look at you, you're a fucking pro wrestler. They thought until they saw videos and pictures, and then they were like, oh, dude, like that's pretty fucking badass. Like I gotta
yeah.
give it props. Like that's fucking shit. It's cool as fuck. And I wouldn't be doing once they realize they go like I wouldn't be able to do that, then they go like, fuck, that's awesome, you know? But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I am just not willing
Fearful.
to cross that line into
Um,
experimenting something that completely out of the norm for someone like me or for a lot
yeah.
of people.
That's the thing is if it's out of the norm, right? Is something
Mm,
cannot be normalized until you see it on a regular basis. Um, and we're only seeing, tattoos and weird alternative hair colors really coming into
yeah.
like office culture and things like that now. Like Hamilton, Ontario, my friend likes to call it the neck tattoo capital of Canada, where he on his transit to work will see like a banker in a full suit with like a bald eagle tattoo right
Hmm.
across their neck. Um, so it's breaking a lot of thing walls are coming down, but it's slow going because like white cis men have controlled the world for a very long time, and it's only with uh I like to think the advent of the internet, and social media, to be honest, that allows people to start seeing things that are outside of the norm. It allows for people to not control what everyone sees, so that you can know that the things that you want and the people you love, and you know the way that you need to express yourself is normal, and there are other people like you. And it's really important, because if you feel completely segregated, and this goes again to being in lockdown, if you feel completely segregated from society, you can't thrive, and your mental health will diminish, your physical health will also diminish from that. So I think it's really important that fucking live your truth, man. Try new things.
It's man, that's a point to add, and I got distracted by something.
That's okay.
God damn,
We've been
man.
talking for an
Oh,
hour
I
now.
want to. Okay, let's talk for a little bit before we've been at
Mhm.
it for about an hour, but let's go for a little bit longer. What's it called? It's BDSM, right? That's what it's called.
Yes. Yes.
You've been in that world for what you say, 10+ years.
Over 10 years, yeah. I can't tell you exact dates. It was like a couple years ago. I was like, oh, it's been 10 years. So
Um, what is? I guess my question is, what is the biggest fear of people to do? Like, do the majority of people that take part in that activity keep it to themselves and not share it with the majority of the people they surround themselves with? Or is it more open that if you're into that, you start surrounding yourself with people that are also into that same thing? Or is
it's a
there a
bit
completely different?
it's a bit of both. Really, it will depend on every individual case, right? If you are from a Southern Baptist community in the South, you might not be talking about how you prefer to wear latex and walk around in a dog mask. They might be like, oh, that's really unhealthy, and let you know that. But in reality, that's just you trying to express yourself and feel good, and that's absolutely totally healthy, because it's not harming anyone, and you're not doing anything to anyone. You're just enjoying yourself. Now, there are also activities you can enjoy with other people, and those activities are still, everything is consensual and safe, for the most part, if you do them safely and consensually.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you look at it around the world, like, I guess it also depends on location. So you get somewhere where, it's, let's say, Germany. There's a really, really big fetish community there. German Fetish Ball is a yearly uh, huge party. It has like fashion shows. Um, Thousands of people go to it. We have one in Montreal Fetish Weekend. You've got Vancouver Fetish Weekend. You've got uh, Torture Garden, which travels around. Uh, Fort Lauderdale, which is Fetish Factory, where they do like whole hotel takeovers, and people fly from all over the world. They leave, let's say, maybe some people leave lives where they don't know that, like, during the day you're a dentist, and at night you are in full gear with your wife, and both of you uh, don't have faces because you're in latex, or, your husband sleeps at the foot of your bed because that's where you like to role play. But then they go to an event where they make friends for the rest of their lives from all over the world, learning other people's cultures and customs, and all of those things, but in a setting where everyone is playing and experimenting, as well as it being a learning environment. So they're learning about themselves and each other, how to express. They're learning about codes of conduct, because people are like, don't touch people randomly. It's not okay. And like, so it's just very interesting.
What's the biggest misconception about BDSM you find?
Oh God. Um, the people think that 50 Shades of Grey is BDSM. No, that was a toxic, abusive relationship. And honestly, it really saddens me that people think like, a lot of women adhere to this idea, like, this is what it should be, when in reality, BDSM is a constant conversation with somebody to check in, make sure that they're okay. You're having a power exchange between two people, sometimes more, um, where there are endorphins and sweat, and people being at their most vulnerable. You know, this is you engaging in something that you want to experiment with. You want to fulfill a fantasy that you've had for a really long time, but like you didn't know how to do it. Finding out little things about yourselves, like uh, some people realizing why they have their kinks. You know, sometimes it's to deal with trauma and abuse and taking control of that. Sometimes it's just because, you know what, you've been in a wedded relationship for 57 years and, you know, it's never been that fun. So why not try something new? Now we're in a swingers relationship, you know?
How much has this pandemic changed? Like, I can only assume people that made a living, like of
Yes.
of this.
Se- Sex
It
workers have taken a hit. Yeah.
yeah, like there's so many things. You see everything online now. It's like everybody's online. And then I was reading an article the other day, something about I forget what country, I think it's Australia, where sex work is kind of legal or completely legal, I believe, over there. But they were saying like how like everything is done through basically the internet now. Like there,
Hmm.
because you can't come in contact with anybody, you can't be with anybody, so it's kind of like all online. Like I can only assume like there's the BDSM world saying all those
Yes.
umbrella the fall under that umbrella. It's all either taking a hit or like someone, a lot of people needed to adapt quickly to figure out a different way to keep it going.
Yes. So, for the local sort of scene, I can talk about because I know a little bit about what's happening, sort of like in the world, but
Hmm.
locally, I really saw what happened. You know, I watched all the bars close down, and I watched some places stay open, and I didn't feel comfortable even with masks and like the places already, and like even in a community that really adheres to like strict like no transmission sort of parties.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're wiping everything down if you're sweating on it, and like there's like quite, it's very clean, or it should be. Um,
Mm.
and I watched people just be like, I can't go out with my friends, but it was more like, hey, this gets me out of my like dreary 9 to 5 gray beige life. And it goes again to like having multiple hobbies. It's very good.
Yeah.
Um, but they were like, oh no, what do we do? Like I can't do any of that stuff. So you had places like Cirque du Boudoir started doing online events. So they have been DJing on Twitch and then doing sort of like Zoom meetings, but like locked Zoom meetings where like
Oh yeah.
sexy stuff happens, like very naughty things.
Whatever do you mean?
I got there at 8 p.m. one day, and I got a hell of a show, and I was like, oh no, sorry, it was 9, but I was still very like, this is
It's
very early.
very early indeed. 9 p.m.
Yeah. But yeah, no, they've adapted, but it's not the same. You know, a lot of it is the physical contact, which is missing. But you know, people make do. We all watch porn, so
Dude, that porn business is definitely not in the hurt business right now. Except for bad press, it's really not in the hurt business. I'll be
I
honest
can't
with
talk
that.
about anything along those
I know you can't, but I can. No.
lines.
But I think being adaptable, being malleable during these times is extremely important in anything you're in. You know, like any type of business, any type of activity. Take working out. Like we went from being able to go work out at a fucking gym every day,
Yep.
anytime you want. 3 in the afternoon, yeah, I feel like working out and go work out. You know what? Today's 6, 7, 8, anytime, 24 hours, it's
Mhm.
fucking open. Go. To not even having access to those things. A lot of people, we lost some along the way that went, it's too hard for me. I don't have anything at home. I don't have weights. I don't like working out by myself. I like going to the gym. And it was wham. And you had other people like me and a lot of other people that said, well, you know what? fucking Zoom workouts, fucking
Yeah.
go outside and run, go fucking do some push-ups, do some squats, go do whatever, bike, buy your bike, be active. It for me, it was extremely helpful that I could be adaptable in any situation. You give me a situation, I might bitch and moan about it for 45 seconds, but then after that, I'm like, all right, fuck, let's
Problem solved.
fucking
Yeah.
kill this shit. I find that the people that were not be able to adapt to new were all kind of left behind, and then they get a lot of them get mad. They're like, well, what about me? What do you mean, what about me? Fucking do whatever you. And that kind of shit to me is really, it's kind of, I don't like that attitude. But I find being and businesses had to be adaptable. I mean, you work for a company that now you work from home, right? Like
Yep.
we had to adapt. You know, everybody can work from home, and then it's going to show a lot of people like, hey, wait a minute, we don't have
Yeah.
to. I don't have to go there to do my job. I could just do it
Yeah.
from here. Okay, and
Well,
I'm more productive.
the biggest community that I saw just be like, yeah, I knew you could work from home forever. And because companies were like, it's too hard to set up these this network so that people can work from home. That's why I won't be hiring anyone with a disability, you know.
Mm.
Um, and you're seeing a lot of those companies sort of like, oh, maybe we look terrible now because people applied for jobs and it's like, no, this could have totally been done not in an office, and office culture is very toxic.
It there's a it exposes a lot of weaknesses in everything. I know it's just a health thing. You know, it's a pandemic, it's a virus, but
Mm,
it exposed so many things that weren't
problems.
related to health or anything. And a lot of people, they look at the surface, they go, oh, it exposed the government, and then they stop there, and then they only spend that energy because they're like, look, they don't know what they're doing. Other people, they kept going. Oh, wait a minute, like it exposes a lot of shit about myself. I
Mm,
I have a hard time being by myself and living and
yes.
just being in my head and not being surrounded by people. Maybe I need to work on that. Maybe I need to shed this. Maybe I need to shed that.
Yeah.
Those people, they'll survive way better and have a easier time. I find certain people, it's heartbreaking to see a lot of people just want to be stuck in the, because it's the easier, most safe, secure way, and they're not willing to just be adaptable in
Oh,
this new world.
yeah. You got to be accountable for your own happiness. You can't blame it on a group of people. Um,
You can't
you know,
rely on anybody for your own happiness. That is
no.
something that is extremely important to realize, and I think a lot of people are realizing that in this day and age now because of this fucking thing we're going through right now. You know, it's scary. It's
Yeah.
it's scary because I think a lot of people are so fucking scared of this that they're willing to tell themselves lies and make believe those lies simply because it's easier to believe that lie than to admit that they're scared
Mm,
of something that can kill them, or that can kill their grandmother, their mother, their father, whoever the fuck it is, you know. It's
hmm
scary, and a lot of people don't want to live in that part of their brain where thing is scary, because I fucking thrive in that part of my brain. Fuck yeah, it's dark in here. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, some people have been privileged enough that they don't have to ever visit those sorts of places, right?
Yeah.
Um, and the what all of this has really shown is the distinct difference between you know what somebody with privilege can live through in a pandemic and the let's say throwawayness of marginalized communities that you've seen a lot of here. It's like the homeless person that got ticketed for because of curfew
Yeah.
the first day after they said that that wasn't going to be a thing. Like we all knew that that would be a thing. The there's nowhere for people with no homes to go. The shelters aren't a thing. They take like a third of the population that actually needs space, and ticketing somebody isn't going to you're not going to get that money. It's just
Yeah.
a cycle of like abuse, systematic abuse of pe- people. Sorry, I'm just like, what?
it
Anyways.
is it hard to let not let yourself get to the point where it angers you? Because I feel like a lot of things now are so, with social media, with everything being such in your
Mm,
face, 24-hour news cycle, everything is rah rah rah. And the sad thing is that we never see the good news. We always hear about the bad news. I find it hard, and it's something that I've worked on during this pandemic and this new more and more time spent on my phone, social media, is to not let myself get angry based on someone else's post, belief, or
yeah.
anything, where I let it. Sometimes I go in the shower, I'm there for 30 minutes, and I can thinking of all the things I want to tell this fucking person. And then I realize that it's all that shit is happening made up in my head. And I'm like, why am I wasting this fucking energy while I'm in the shower? I could be doing so many different things,
I mean, you're
thinking about
processing
different things.
emotions.
Right. Yeah. But, and I find that it's better for me to process it that way than to fucking write an angry fucking
Uh-huh.
post about it. And then hit send and immediate regret.
Yeah.
Immediate. Every time I've posted something remotely political or too much on the left or too much on the right, because I'm
Mhm.
in the middle of all this going, whoa, whoa, can we all stop? Please stop yelling. Please stop yelling. I agree with certain points you say. I agree with certain points you say.
Yeah.
Can we all meet in the middle? And then but sometimes there's people that are too much on that side that I go, you motherfucker, like shut up. But
Yeah.
I process those emotions in the shower alone as I cry. Just kidding. Um, but yeah, I find it hard sometimes. Do you find it hard?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not big on anger. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like the emotion. It makes me feel bad. I get sad real good.
Yeah.
I do sad real well. Pro at sad.
Pro at
Uh,
sad, rookie at
pro
angry.
at yeah. Anger is an emotion that I just cry because my body's like, oh, we don't know how to deal with this.
Mm,
Um, I think that it's important to fight for what you believe in, especially if it involves human rights. And I have to use what privilege has been given to me by my class and color, to fight for with what I have to fight.
yeah.
Be it even just spreading awareness. Which is like literally the minimum that people can do. Uh, um,
Isn't it crazy how
but
the
what I do,
minimum is so much to ask for a lot of people when it's just one small
yes.
thing?
But when I'm having a really bad day, I do disconnect from things because I understand that, things become too much. So it's like, okay, well, maybe I'm not going to watch the news. And if something really is important, like I can reach out to like a friend and be like, hey, I just like if like something really really world changing happens, just like message me. But like otherwise, I'm just going off of everything for a day, and I just get back to being with myself. And uh, I'm not an only child, but I spent a lot of time alone. So I learned very quickly how to entertain myself. I was bullied as a child, so having friends in your head is nice.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like imaginary friends, but like being kind to yourself in little ways, and like playing games alone is really healthy. And that's one thing that I think that like as adults we, well, I do now, but a lot of people don't do is like you're told at like I guess like 16 that like no more playing is off the table. Like you're not
You can't
allowed.
be a child after this age. You cannot do anything
Yes.
childlike. It is frowned upon. Please move on to the next
Yes.
step of your life. That is
So
something that I've never ever understood, and I kind of like rebelled against. Was this whole, for me, was this whole like, wait a minute, I have to comply not only with who I have to be, but also in the time frame you want me to attain those things.
mhm.
I That's why I'm 40. I'm just starting to fucking bloom. I'm 40. Like it's like
Mhm.
I spent the my 20s almost drinking myself to death and
Yes.
partying and having fun and
It's
all
because what
that.
society told you was the norm, right?
Right. I guess I had friends that we all did the same thing, but it I found once I started releasing and started like noticing that I didn't have to be married at this and have a wife and kids and live in that.
And now you have a wife and kids.
But true, true. But I've been able to kind of like build this path for my in my life where I'm like it went how it went and I it's like I didn't really I've never felt comfortable living in that space that people expect you to live in. You're like, let me just hop off here and I'll see you later, and it's like
Mhm.
I guess that's why I gravitate towards people maybe that see it the same way and that kind of like live outside of the fringe of the norm or out of the
Mhm.
norms, I guess.
Oh, I definitely live in the fringes. Fringe
Right.
is a fabulous, fabulous addition to any outfit.
I'm really happy that we got to talk today. Really did.
Yeah,
It's I've
same.
been meaning to ask you to come on my podcast for a while, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I there's always a part of my brain that's always going to go like, oh, maybe she doesn't want to, or it goes for every single guest I send.
Yeah,
Before I send the send button, I'm like, I'll send it tomorrow, and then I close my phone
yeah.
and I go, I
Dude,
just hit
the,
send.
the worst that anyone can say to you is no.
I know it's
And
fucked up, right?
that's really like, they're not gonna be like, ew, you have a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast. I want a podcast. Come on my podcast.
Yeah. I won't go on your podcast before you come on my podcast. Oh, I'll agree on your podcast. What's your podcast? I don't have one yet, but I'll come up with one and then we can both go on our podcast. Now you're right. But I'm really happy. It was a great conversation. I had fun. And
Yes. Thank you for having me.
like I tried doing this new thing when I kind of relaunched the Le Savage show because I wanted to have French guests and an English guest, but I also wanted to be more like a I hate using the word interview. And then I kind of like went in that direction for a couple of episodes and I'm like, I don't feel comfortable. So I kind of like went back to the old ways of where I'm like, I do, depending on the guest that I have on, I'll do some research. If I need to talk about certain points, I'll write it down. But
Hmm.
some, it's just like, I just want to have a great conversation. And I'm like, that's at the end of the day, it's like for the last hour and a half, we've been having a great conversation. And it's something that I enjoy doing.
I actually made a little surprise with my makeup for you if you want to see it.
Go.
Ready?
Yes. Oh, that's so fucking cool.
Also, my hair glows.
Yeah. So it, that's in the hair dye.
Yeah.
Man, that's amazing. Look at that. That fucking glows in the. Is that a dark light? Is that a like a black light?
And it's just a RGB, like Amazon buy.
Dude, I bought. You want to laugh? Maybe you won't laugh. So my son, we bought my son all this setup for like gaming for Christmas. We
Hmm.
bought him a fucking screen, keyboard, mouse, everything, desk and everything. And then I see all these gamers online. They have like these nice lights in the back and stuff. So I started doing research like a fucking noob. And then I'm like, oh, LED strip lights. And then I ordered
That's
some
what I
on
have. Yeah.
that. See, right? So I ordered some on Amazon, put them in my son's room. Now my daughter's like, I want some. So I'm like, hey, you know what? And my wife's like, you should get some for your fucking office. So I got some for my office. So now I have some. I have like the ring light, the thing,
Uh-huh.
but I put some on the wall there. So it's like different
Yeah, I
colors.
can see them in the reflection of the
Right.
one of the photos.
Oh, there you go. That's red now. But now there's 3 rooms in our houses that have these fucking LED lights. My son's room, my daughter's room. And now my daughter gets home from school and she's like, let's go have a party in my room. So she puts that thing on blink and then she puts music and
Hmm.
then she dances by herself. There's a party in my room.
That's very sweet.
It's the best. But thanks a lot for doing this. I appreciate giving me
Yeah.
an hour and a half of your precious time and coming
Yeah,
on the
no worries.
podcast. And I'm sure we'll do it again. I plan
For
on doing
sure.
this a lot. I think I've been doing this for a while now, and I'm like, I really enjoy doing this. I don't think it's something that I'm going to stop doing.
Yeah.
I'm given the time now, and like I can book during the day if someone wants to come during the day. Like I'm at home, it's like I can do it at any time. That's what I did the first time we're in lockdown. I just fucking recorded 2 3 episodes a week, and then I was just releasing them like hot candy. It's fun. It gives me an opportunity to have like again conversations with really cool people and people that I
Hmm.
deem interesting for myself anyway, and it's
My
fun.
suggestion, as somebody who's been doing one for 5 seasons now,
Mm,
keep a bank. So don't just roll out everything that you
yeah,
record. You keep yourself a bank for when you're like, oh, it's like I'm looking at like 3 months where like I won't be able to record. So like if I stretch it out, I can do 2 episodes a month for 3 months. Like
yeah, yeah. I have to stop living in that world that I live in too much, where everything has to be a perfect and structured
Hmm.
to be able to, so that when I don't have, like, if I say I'm going to release 2 episodes a week and this day and this day and this day and every day, and then one week I go fuck, something happens, hey kitty,
Yeah.
uh I don't freak out, and then I don't overthink it and just let it ruin my day or even sometimes my week, because I was like, fuck, I just released 1 episode, la la la. Like, just live more in the, like, if something happens where I can't record or a guest
Post so
cancels,
people
like
don't think you're dead.
yeah. So but yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate everything. I'm
Yeah.
happy. Hi
Thanks for
kitty.
having me on.
You're welcome. And
Okay.
if you want to share your
Yeah, I
where
will.
people can check your social media, where can they
Yeah,
find you?
if you want to follow my makeup journey, my daily makeup journey, I think I'm on day 312 right when this is being recorded. Yeah. You can find me on Instagram at sien.um, so that's SIENN period UHM.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
All right, we'll talk later. Okay,
Ah.
bye.